So Alpha Chad, I'm standing on a lily pad. Woo! So in this video, I'm going to tell you what Alpha Chad software engineers do at work. So first and foremost, Alpha Chad software engineers do things better than everyone else and with less effort and faster. So you might ask, how do they do that? And it might be obvious to some, but it's by being both Alpha and Chad. So let's define these words. What does alpha mean? So alpha is denoting a person who has a dominant role or position within a particular sphere. And Chad is denoting someone with an abnormally large ego, like a huge mountains, the size of mountains. That's their ego. So it might be difficult to combine these two attributes unless you were chosen by the Alpha Chad gods to have both alphaness and Chadness. So Alpha Chad engineers, they take away all the work from the non-Alpha Chads. So this makes it so that the non-Alpha Chads have to admire the Alpha Chad software engineers' code. So this strengthens the Alpha Chad's software engineers' code by making their code be more confusing. And this will strengthen them because it'll make it so that the non-Alpha Chad will spend more time to understand the Alpha Chad's code. Thus begins the cycle of Alpha Chadness. So if there's any code to write after the Alpha Chad gets his way, it's going to be weak code that the non-Alpha Chads will have to write. So this is the code that the plebeians are left to write because all the cool code has been written by the Alpha Chad software engineer. Another thing that Alpha Chad software engineers do is they go to meetings. And they don't just go to meetings like a normal plebeian. No, they go to meetings earlier than everyone else so that they're ready for whatever is going to happen in the meeting and so that they outshine everyone who's not an Alpha Chad software engineer. This allows them to establish their territory like a wild animal. So kind of like kings of the jungle, like lions, they'll scare away all the weaker animals. In this case, the weaker animals are the non-Alpha Chads. And the non-Alpha Chad software engineers as well. Now, since these weaker animals, or these weaker non-Alpha Chad software engineers, they're going to be scared away. So what's going to happen to them, you might ask? Well, kind of like what happens to zebras in the wild. They get eaten. And they either leave the company, or they get fired from the company, because they're just not Alpha Chad enough. So they would likely get fired from the company because all the code is going to be written by the Alpha Chad engineers. So the managers are going to be like, what is this guy even doing here? What does he do at this company? He's not Alpha Chad like the other guy, and he doesn't write code. Get rid of him. Finish him. So another thing that Alpha Chad software engineers do is they use libraries that no one has ever heard of. You know why no one has ever heard of them? Because they wrote them themselves. So this makes it so that the non-Alpha Chads have to learn the libraries and learn the bad code. Well, not necessarily bad, but that these Alpha Chads are writing. And it makes it really confusing for the non-Alpha Chads. So this makes it so that the Alpha Chad software engineers have to stay at the company because no one else in the entire world knows the code base because they wrote it. They wrote the libraries. They did it all. And that is how the Alpha Chad software engineers can write code faster than the non-Alpha Chads. It's because they already have their own libraries to do everything. Oh, you want to check your mail? They have a library to do that. Oh, you want to put an end to poverty? They already have a library to do that. They want to cure the coronavirus that's trending right now? They already have a library to do it, but they won't cure it because they're too Alpha Chad, you know? So another thing that Alpha Chad software engineers do is they mentor the non-Alpha Chads. So they want to help them get to where the Alpha Chads are right now. They want to help increase everyone's Alpha Chaddiness somehow. Might be impossible, but they want to try. So they do this by seeing that the non-Alpha Chads are writing code. And if they're writing code, the Alpha Chad already knows that it's going to be bad code. So they'll tell them, hey, your code is bad. And they don't care. They just tell them straight up to their face, hey, your code is bad. That's what the Alpha Chads will do because they're so Alpha Chad. But the Alpha Chad will not stop there. They will not stop at saying their code, that your code is bad, to the non-Alpha Chads. What they'll do is they're going to rewrite the code to make it so it's not bad in their own view. So it'll be Alpha Chad code, but not bad code to them. If you see what I'm saying. Except now, no one else is going to understand it because it's Alpha Chad code now. And there can be only one Alpha Chad code. You got it? So this, of course, will make the non-Alpha Chads angry. They're going to be pissed. Like, I wrote this code, and then this guy just rewrote it. Like, do you see what this guy's doing? Does anyone see what this guy's doing? And what they're going to say is they're going to go to their product owner, their manager, whoever. They're going to go to anyone as a cry for help, saying, hey, can you help me, please? Please, some alms for the poor. Please get this madman out of this company. And you know what the manager's going to say? Absolutely nothing. They don't care. They don't care about non-Alpha Chads. They only care about the Alpha Chad software engineer. You know why they don't care? It's because the Alpha Chad software engineer writes all the code, and the non-Alpha Chad doesn't write any code. He just sits around all day and looking at the Alpha Chad's code and crying about how it's not his code and how he writes it all and rewrites the non-Alpha Chad's code. That's how it goes. So what are some other things that Alpha Chad engineers do? They check their email, but they don't check it like normal people. They have to send an email to the whole mailing list because they're Alpha Chad. They have to let everyone know they exist, and they're writing this email, and then the non-Alpha Chad doesn't write emails. They just look at their code. Like they just look at the emails and read through it. No. The Alpha Chad has to reply to every single email. To the whole mailing list, 200,000 people on this mailing list. He has to reply to it. Reply all. Another thing that the software engineer or the Alpha Chad software engineer does, he doesn't test his code. You want to know why? Because if he tested his code, that would mean he's insecure about his code. He is not insecure. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't test it. Pushes directly to master, directly to production. He's too Alpha Chad to care. Another thing that Alpha Chad software engineers do is they come up with their own requirements. And they come up with these requirements because they know what is required by the business or whoever cares about the product. So they know what's required. So they don't have to ask anyone for permission. They just go ahead and just do it. Don't ask no, don't take no for answer, or don't take no for an answer. If they say no, they'll do it anyways. If they think if the Alpha Chad software engineer thinks that something is required by the company, they'll just do it. If they think that this will be a cool thing, they'll just do it. Doesn't matter. Another thing that the Alpha Chad software engineer will do is they'll come up with the architecture and the design for the whole project so that everyone will have to follow their whole design and their architecture, and then they'll fulfill that architecture. So they'll come up with a design and then they'll do it. And then everyone else will just look on the sidelines like, how is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And then he just does it. Another thing that the Alpha Chad software engineer will do is he'll come up with his own algorithms. Like, he'll make the Alpha Chad algorithm, the Alpha Chad data structure, and then he'll make sure that everyone has to use the Alpha Chad data structure. They'll be like, oh, hey, you used a linked list here, but you should have used the Alpha Chad. That's it. You should have used the Alpha Chad. And then when he goes to interview people for positions to be non-Alpha Chads, he'll ask them about the Alpha Chad. Like, why weren't you using the Alpha Chad here in this coding problem? And then they'll ask, like, what is the Alpha Chad? And then they don't get hired. And this is why no one gets hired at the company. It's because they don't use the Alpha Chad. Come on, use the Alpha Chad. It's better than the linked list, the array, the hash map, the tree. It's better than that. Why not use it? The one thing I want to say, final thing about the Alpha Chad software engineer, is that whatever they do it with confidence. They know what they're doing. They don't care what everyone else is doing. They don't care what other people think. Hope that shows you something. Alright, I'm done with this video. If you want to be an Alpha Chad software engineer, or just Alpha Chad in general, make sure you subscribe for more videos. Peace. Alpha Chad, 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 Alpha Chad.